In this video, I'll talk about how I traveled in 6 countries in 3 different continents during my university years without paying a single penny from my pocket, that too coming from a middle-class family and in one of the least developed countries in the world in South Asia. If you want to find out more about it and a bonus till the end, stick to the video, it's coming right up. If I told you I traveled... Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Salman. I'm a tech product and innovation expert based out of Bangkok, and I'm currently in the middle of reinventing my life. In this channel, I talk about personal transformation, whether you're a university student or young professional, and talking about my own mistakes and lessons learned in the last 15 years so that you can take the full advantage into accelerating your learning for a better future. As always, I'm going to put the timestamp in the description below, so feel free to jump in whichever the paths you want to start first, or come back in the future for a future reference. With that, let's get into it. Now, before I share my secret as to how I achieved to travel in 6 countries without paying a single penny from my wallet during my university years, it's important to get the facts straight first. So first of all, I was born in a middle-class family and my father was a government servant, meaning we hardly had that much of a financing in our family. We grew up with very little and we had to accommodate all of that within the family of 5 that my father was the only wage earner for. Number 2 is that I was also trying to make my own income through private tutoring and part-time jobs during my university days, through which I barely could support myself and for the education that I had for myself. Number 3 would be that I had no prior extracurricular activities that I did during my school that could help me achieve the way I unlocked my potential to travel in all those countries during my university years. I also was a very average student, so I was not necessarily a bright student who would automatically stand out in the university from the very freshman years that could give me the limelight or the potential to really go after those crazy dreams that I had for myself. And I also didn't have any connections or big brothers, as they often refer to them, meaning I couldn't have had any ready absolute advantage of reaching out to certain people who could really help me making certain big difficult steps easy for me. And last but not the least, I was also living in a bubble. The reason I say it's bubble because my dad was in the military, so we always grew up in the military bases throughout all 12 years of my education. And I hardly had any solid or strong interaction with the outside world of the military bases, which often made me quite not ready or having quite limited understanding of what I needed to have in order to succeed and survive in a real world, which is not as protected as it was when I was living in my military cocoon. So with that reality and the fact being presented, let's find out what exactly was my mission to achieve this dream of mine, which was crazy at the very beginning, and how I have created my own path and game plan to achieving it, something that you might be able to do for yourself as well. So with that ambition to travel around the world during my universities to really unlock new potentials for myself, I set myself a mission and an underlying goal as to why I'm trying to do that. So my mission was I eventually wanted to work for the United Nations, and in the process of being in the 4 years of university, I wanted to become a much better version of myself by acquiring new knowledge and skill set. But the underlying goal was actually to make a lot of friends and really travel the world. I could not tell you how much I wanted to travel as I just came out of my shell in that military bubble and saw the world was much bigger and much more exciting than I could ever imagine. So with a clear mission statement written to work at the United Nations and an underlying goal of making lots of friends and traveling the world, I now have the responsibility to get my game plan right that will help me acquire the skill sets I needed to acquire in order to get a job at the UN. Also in the process, having all those exposures required to make lots of friends and travel the world. So with that, what I did was I looked for, instead of jumping into too many different clubs at the very early days in the universities, I selected only one club that was going to teach me all the skills that I needed to become a better public speaker, a good debater, a good critical thinker, something that's going to really help me to become much more better candidate for a future potential UN role. I also looked for opportunities to work in debating and organizing of debate. So there was an opportunity that came up with Transparency International where they were organizing mock parliamentary debate, and I became part of their program management committee for 2 years to really be part of those local organizing of debates at mass level. Again, really educating myself on the organizing of events, but at the same time on the debating at a much better level through public speaking and debating. And last but not the least, in order to learn more about the UN systems, I looked into what sort of organizations that are there that can help me get closer to the UN organizations, to be more aware and to be able to appreciate more about the different UN agencies that are there. And at that point in time, I found out through my research there's a UN organization, an independently, not a UN properly organization, but it's a volunteer organization for students that was close to the UN and working within the UN systems to help do various UN projects as a volunteer support, and also we're working to get students ready for different model events that was taking place in different parts of the world. So with that very clear game plan, now I knew what I had to do in the next 3 to 4 years for me to really get to travel, make lots of friends, and also do it without having to pay anything from my own pocket. So here's the timeline of how I started finally unlocking all the hard work that I've done in the 1.5 years before to see the results by starting to travel the world and making lots of friends in the process. So it all happened the first trip ever in 2007 in May, when our university got invited to take part into one of the largest Asian universities debating competition in Indonesia. And because of all the hard work that I could put in the before 1.5 years, I got selected to be part of the main team from the university to go represent my university. Hence, we got sponsored by the university to go to Indonesia for that particular debate. So, country number one, all expenses paid, made lots of friends in not just in Indonesia, but from anywhere within the Southeast Asia and the Greater Asian regions. As I continued doing that, I got another opportunity within the university being recommending me for a potential cultural exchange program where the government of India invited the Bangladesh government to send university students for representing Bangladesh at that international event. So again, I got interviewed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Bangladesh government. I got the opportunity to become part of the Bangladesh delegation and eventually ended up traveling to India, in different parts of the north of India, really having a fantastic time, learning so much about the country and also making lots of friends in the process. All expenses paid by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. After that, in few months later, as I was really hoping to make it through to one of the international model event conferences, an opportunity came. China in Beijing, Peking University was organizing their Asian International Model Event Conference, and I applied to be part of the Bangladesh contingent of that year. And I was so lucky, in my first ever model event, I got accepted by the organization who was selecting people to represent Bangladesh, and I ended up making it to Beijing. But how I paid for the for the conference is the tricky part here. I didn't have my university to pay for this because this club was not part of the university. It was an independent volunteer organization. So what we need to do, we need to put our salesman hat on and to really learn how to write a proper pitch to potential corporate sponsors who will pay for our airfare and accommodation, which will eventually help us make it to go there and represent Bangladesh. In the process, we'll learn how to write excellent sales pitch to sponsors who would put us as part of their sponsorship program and eventually help represent Bangladesh while giving them a lot of mileages for sponsoring our trip. As I kept doing that, in May 2008, another opportunity came just within a few months' time in Malaysia. Similar competition that took place in Indonesia the year before, and the university was again sending a team from our university, more than one team, and I again made it to the team of my university representing my country and my university in Malaysia in IIUM during 2008 May. Again, all expenses paid by my university. My new country travel, which is the fourth country in just a matter of 2 years in my university years. Then another opportunity came in December 2008 to travel in India, again in Kolkata, which is Calcutta, for another debating tournament where my university paid for majority of the costs, and I also had to pay a little bit for all the fun that we choose to do because we were just too much of adventures while we were in India ourselves. As time went by and I kept being involved both in local and international debates and model event and within the different volunteering communities, I was so fortunate to be selected by the United States government, the Department of State, to take part in one of their prestigious International Visitors Leadership Program, IVLP, where I was representing the Student Leaders in Civic Responsibility Program to go and travel in the United States for almost a month time. That was again one of the amazing opportunity that I had received as a student to travel the United States, all expenses paid by the United States government, into different parts of the United States from East Coast to West Coast, traveling into 5-6 different states itself, really understanding and enjoying all that there was of the universities and the youth organizations in the US, and also coming back with lots of inspirations and lots of friends as well. And last but not the least, as I was close to finishing my university, I also was continuing to be active in the model event organizations and the global model events. And at that very time, the United Nations was hosting the first ever global model event in Switzerland, in their previous headquarters of the UN before it moved to the United States in New York. And at that very global model event, I also applied along with fellow university students who were also representing Bangladesh, and we got selected to take part at the first global model event in Geneva, Switzerland in 2009, where UN gave us a bit of scholarship for part of our pays, and then the remaining were paid by the university and also by sponsors who were supporting our cause of representing Bangladesh in that particular conference. And that's how I traveled in 6 countries in 3 continents during my university years without paying a single penny from my wallet. Now, the real important part here is in the first part, I had a very clear statement as to what I wanted to do. I had a clear game plan, and I made sure I stick to the game plan without really getting deviated in the process of achieving it. Regardless of however difficult it was, however frustrating it was, I kept keeping my persistence on, and with my grit, I made sure I get where I wanted to go at the end of 4 years period. But what is the additional important thing that really worked out, without which I couldn't have done it, is the sponsorship of my trips when I was doing model event conferences. In those times, my university did not pay. So I really need to use my own skill to attract potential sponsors who will eventually believe in my idea and the opportunity to represent Bangladesh in a global context. And then once we come back, they can talk about it in the local media and newspapers. I had to learn how to be a good salesperson. I had to learn how to write a pitch deck. I had to write how to communicate to a potential, like a sponsor in a company, going into meetings after meetings during the university hours, convincing them why it was important for them not only just to pay for my ticket, but also the ticket of 7, 8, 9, 10 people who were also representing Bangladesh at the same time. This was asking for a lot of money, but had I not learned how to be a good salesperson, even being a university student, I would not have been able to achieve that. If you want to know more about the importance of sales and some of the skill sets that are extremely critical, you watch this video where I expand more about the importance of sales. You can also watch this video where I talk about how there's some key skills that you must learn during your university days if you want to stay ahead in the game as you prepare for your future professional career. So I hope you found this video useful, and there are 1 or 2 ways now you know how to set your goals in order to achieve what you want to achieve while having someone else to also support your dream. If it's a dream to travel the world, I bet that there are many ways for you to be able to take advantage of the different sponsorships that can be there. Even if it's not there, you can go and create one and propose it in this digitized world where companies would love to promote your story through their media and get the mileage that they need while giving you the opportunity to travel, which is probably a very small expenses for them anyway. So I want to know what kind of ideas that you have. write down in the comment section below. If you want to know more about what other hacks that I also used during my university days, let me know so that I can cover that in a future video. With that, thank you so much for watching this video. If you like this video, smash that like button. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider doing so. Happy hunting for your dreams during your university days. Let me know how else I can help you with more future videos to talk about more hacks. With that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.